to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon to get notified about our future videos. You may pause the video at times to read the questions or the answers at your own pace. To the questions. Question 1. A SysOps administrator has enabled AWS CloudTrail in an AWS account. If CloudTrail is disabled, it must be re-enabled immediately. What should the SysOps administrator do to meet these requirements without writing custom code? The correct option is B. Create an AWS config rule that is invoked when CloudTrail configuration changes. Apply the AWS configure CloudTrail logging automatic remediation action. To ensure that CloudTrail remains enabled in your account, AWS config provides the CloudTrail enabled managed rule. If CloudTrail is turned off, the CloudTrail enabled rule automatically re-enables it by using automatic remediation. Question 2. A company is running a website on Amazon EC2 instances that are in an auto-scaling group. When the website traffic increases, additional instances take several minutes to become available because of a long-running user data script that installs software. A SysOps administrator must decrease the time that is required for new instances to become available. Which action should the SysOps administrator take to meet this requirement? Our options are A. Reduce the scaling thresholds so that instances are added before traffic increases. B. Purchase reserved instances to cover 100% of the maximum capacity of the auto-scaling group. C. Update the auto-scaling group to launch instances that have a storage optimized instance type. Or D. Use EC2 image builder to prepare an Amazon machine image that has pre-installed software. The correct option is D. Use EC2 image builder to prepare an Amazon machine image that has pre-installed software. D is an automated way to update your image. Have a pipeline to update your image. When you boot from your AMI updates, scripts are already pre-installed, so no need to complete boot scripts in the boot process. Question 3. A SysOps administrator has successfully deployed a VPC with an AWS CloudFormation template. The SysOps administrator wants to deploy the same template across multiple accounts that are managed through AWS organizations. Which solution will meet these requirements with the least operational overhead? The correct option is D. Use AWS CloudFormation stack sets from the management account to deploy the template in each of the accounts. AWS CloudFormation stack sets extends the capability of stacks by enabling you to create, update, or delete stacks across multiple accounts and AWS regions. Question 4. A company is running distributed computing software to manage a fleet of 20 Amazon EC2 instances for calculations. The fleet includes 2 control nodes and 18 task nodes to run the calculations. Control nodes can automatically start the task nodes. Currently, all the nodes run on demand. The control nodes must be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The task nodes run for 4 hours each day. A SysOps administrator needs to optimize the cost of this solution. Which combination of actions will meet these requirements? Choose two. Our options are A. Purchase EC2 instance savings plan for the control nodes. B. use dedicated hosts for the control nodes. C. Use reserved instances for the task nodes. D. Use spot instances for the control nodes. Use on-demand instances if there is no spot availability. Or E. Use spot instances for the task nodes. Use on-demand instances if there is no spot availability. The correct options are A and E, that is, purchase EC2 instance savings plan for the control nodes and use spot instances for the task nodes. Use on-demand instances if there is no spot availability. A and E because it asks for the most cost-effective solution. EC2 instance savings plan is a better option than reserved instance. Question 5. A company recently acquired another corporation and all of that corporation's AWS accounts. A financial analyst needs the cost data from these accounts. A SysOps administrator uses Cost Explorer to generate cost and usage reports. The SysOps administrator notices that quote unquote no tag key represents 20% of the monthly cost. What should the SysOps administrator do to tag the quote unquote no tag key resources? Our options are A. Add the accounts to AWS organizations. Use a service control policy to tag all the untagged resources. B. Use an AWS config rule to find the untagged resources. Set the remediation action to terminate the resources. C. Use Cost Explorer to find and tag all the untagged resources. Or D. Use Tag Editor to find and tag all the untagged resources. The correct option is D. Use Tag Editor to find and tag all the untagged resources. You can add tags to resources when you create the resource. You can use the resources service console or API to add, change or remove those tags one resource at a time. To add tags to or edit or delete tags of multiple resources at once, use Tag Editor. With Tag Editor, you search for the resources that you want to tag and then manage tags for the resources in your search results. Question 6. While setting up an AWS managed VPN connection, a SysOps administrator creates a customer gateway resource in AWS. The customer gateway device resides in data center with a NAT gateway in front of it. What address should be used to create the customer gateway resource? Our options are A. The private IP address of the customer gateway device. B. The MAC address of the NAT device in front of the customer gateway device. C. The public IP address of the customer gateway device. Or D. The public IP address of the NAT device in front of the customer gateway device. The correct option is D. The public IP address of the NAT device in front of the customer gateway device. If your customer gateway device is behind a network address translation device, use the IP address of your NAT device. Question 7. A company has a web application that is experiencing performance problems many times each night. A root cause analysis reveals sudden increases in CPU utilization that last 5 minutes on an Amazon EC2 Linux instance. A SysOps administrator must find the process ID of the service or process that is consuming more CPU. What should the SysOps administrator do to collect the process utilization information with the least amount of effort? Our options are A. Configure the Amazon CloudWatch Agent ProcStat plugin to capture CPU process metrics. B. Configure an AWS Lambda function to run every minute to capture the PID and send a notification. C. Log in to the EC2 instance by using a .pem key each night, then run the top command. Or D. Use the default Amazon CloudWatch CPU utilization metric to capture the PID in CloudWatch. The correct option is A. Configure the Amazon CloudWatch Agent ProcStat plugin to capture CPU process metrics. The ProcStat plugin enables you to collect metrics from individual processes. It is supported on Linux servers and on servers running Windows Server 2012 or later. Question 8. A team is managing an AWS account that is a member of an organization in AWS organizations. The organization has consolidated billing features enabled. The account hosts several applications. A SysOps administrator has applied tags to resources within the account to reflect the environment. The team needs a report of the breakdown of charges by environment. What should the SysOps administrator do to meet this requirement? Our options are A. Filter, map, and categorize resource groups in tag editor. B. Ensure that the organization service control policies allow access to cost allocation tags. C. Ensure that the IAM credentials that are used to access Cost Explorer have permissions to group cost by tags. Or D. Activate the tag keys for cost allocation on the organization's management account. The correct option is D. Activate the tag keys for cost allocation on the organization's management account. You must activate both types of tags separately before they can appear in Cost Explorer or on a cost allocation report. Question 9. A company uses an AWS CloudFormation template to provision an Amazon EC2 instance and an Amazon RDS DB instance. A SysOps administrator must update the template to ensure that the DB instance is created before the EC2 instance is launched. What should the SysOps administrator do to meet this requirement? Our options are A. Add a wait condition to the template, update the EC2 instance user data script to send a signal after the EC2 instance is started. B. Add the depends on attribute to the EC2 instance resource and provide the logical name of the RDS resource. C. Change the order of the resources in the template so that the RDS resource is listed before the EC2 instance resource. Or D. Create multiple templates, use AWS CloudFormation stack sets to wait for one stack to complete before the second stack is created. The correct option is B. Add the depends on attribute to the EC2 instance resource and provide the logical name of the RDS resource. B is the answer. With the depends on attribute, you can specify that the creation of a specific resource follows another. When you add a depends on attribute to a resource, that resource is created only after the creation of the resource specified in the depends on attribute. Question 10. A SysOps administrator is responsible for managing a company's cloud infrastructure with AWS CloudFormation. The SysOps administrator needs to create a single resource that consists of multiple AWS services. The resource must support creation and deletion through the CloudFormation console. Which CloudFormation resource type should the SysOps administrator create to meet these requirements? Our options are A. AWS double column EC2 double column instance with a cfn-init helper script. B. AWS double column opsworks double column instance. C. AWS double column SSM double column document, or D. Custom double column my custom type. The correct option among these is D. Custom resources enable you to write custom provisioning logic in templates that AWS CloudFormation runs anytime you create, update, or delete stacks. For example, you might want to include resources that aren't available as AWS CloudFormation resource types. You can include those resources by using custom resources. That way, you can still manage all your related resources in a single stack. Question 11. A new website will run on Amazon EC2 instances behind an application load balancer. Amazon Route 53 will be used to manage DNS records. What type of record should be set in Route 53 to point the website's Apex domain name to the application load balancer? Our options are A. CNAME, B. SOA, C. TXT, or D. alias. The correct option is D. alias. Route 53 supports the alias resource record set, which lets you map your zone apex DNS name to your load balancer DNS name. Question 12. A company is implementing security and compliance by using AWS Trusted Advisor. The company's SysOps team is validating the list of Trusted Advisor checks that it can access. Which factor will affect the quantity of available Trusted Advisor checks? Our options are A. Whether at least one Amazon EC2 instance is in the running state, B. The AWS support plan, C. An AWS organization's service control policy, or D. Whether the AWS account root user has multi-factor authentication enabled. The correct option is B. The AWS support plan. Which Trusted Advisor checks and features are available to all AWS customers? AWS Basic Support and AWS Developer Support customers get access to 6 security checks and 50 service limit checks. AWS Business Support, AWS Enterprise on RAMP, and AWS Enterprise Support customers get access to all 115 Trusted Advisor checks and recommendations. Question 13. A company is planning to host an application on a set of Amazon EC2 instances that are distributed across multiple availability zones. The application must be able to scale to millions of requests each second. A SysOps administrator must design a solution to distribute the traffic to the EC2 instances. The solution must be optimized to handle sudden and volatile traffic patterns while using a single static IP address for each availability zone. Which solution will meet these requirements? Our options are A. Amazon Simple Queue Service Queue, B. Application Load Balancer, C. AWS Global Accelerator, or D. Network Load Balancer. The correct option is D. Network Load Balancer. Network Load Balancer is optimized to handle sudden and volatile traffic patterns while using a single static IP address per availability zone. Question 14. A user working in the Amazon EC2 console increased the size of an Amazon Elastic Block Store volume attached to an Amazon EC2 Windows instance. The change is not reflected in the file system. What should a SysOps administrator do to resolve this issue? Our options are A. Extend the file system with operating system level tools to use the new storage capacity. B. Reattach the EBS volume to the EC2 instance. C. Reboot the EC2 instance that is attached to the EBS volume. Or D. Take a snapshot of the EBS volume, replace the original volume with a volume that is created from the snapshot. The correct option is A. Extend the file system with operating system level tools to use the new storage capacity. After you increase the size of an EBS volume, use the Windows Disk Management utility or PowerShell to extend the disk size to the new size of the volume. You can begin resizing the file system as soon as the volume enters the optimizing state. Question 15. A sysops administrator is using Amazon EC2 instances to host an application. The sysops administrator needs to grant permissions for the application to access an Amazon DynamoDB table. Which solution will meet this requirement? Our options are A. Create access keys to access the DynamoDB table. Assign the access keys to the EC2 instance profile. B. Create an EC2 key pair to access the DynamoDB table. Assign the key pair to the EC2 instance profile. C. Create an IAM user to access the DynamoDB table. Assign the IAM user to the EC2 instance profile. Or D. Create an IAM role to access the DynamoDB table. Assign the IAM role to the EC2 instance profile. The correct option among all these is D. Access to Amazon DynamoDB requires credentials. Those credentials must have permissions to access AWS resources such as an Amazon DynamoDB table or an Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud instance. Question 16. A company is migrating its production file server to AWS. All data that is stored on the file server must remain accessible if an availability zone becomes unavailable or when system maintenance is performed. Users must be able to interact with the file server through the SMB protocol. Users also must have the ability to manage file permissions by using Windows ACLs. Which solution will meet these requirements? The correct option is B. Create an Amazon FSx for Windows File Server multi-AZ file system. To support SMB, FSx is the choice. For supporting failover access across AZ, can turn on multi-AZ option. Question 17. A company runs an application on an Amazon EC2 instance. A sysops administrator creates an auto-scaling group and an application load balancer to handle an increase in demand. However, the EC2 instances are failing the health check. What should the sysops administrator do to troubleshoot this issue? Our options are A. Verify that the auto-scaling group is configured to use all AWS regions. B. Verify that the application is running on the protocol and the port that the listener is expecting. C. Verify the listener priority in the ALB. Change the priority if necessary. Or D. Verify the maximum number of instances in the auto-scaling group. Change the number if necessary. The correct option is B. Verify that the application is running on the protocol and the port that the listener is expecting. Verify that the target is listening for traffic on the health check port. You can use the ss command on Linux targets to verify which ports your server is listening on. For Windows targets, you can use the netstat command. Question 18. A sysops administrator has created an AWS Service Catalog portfolio and has shared the portfolio with a second AWS account in the company. The second account is controlled by a different administrator. Which action will the administrator of the second account be able to perform? Our options are: A. Add a product from the imported portfolio to a local portfolio. B. Add new products to the imported portfolio. C. Change the launch role for the products contained in the imported portfolio. Or D. Customize the products in the imported portfolio. The correct option is A. Add a product from the imported portfolio to a local portfolio. When you share a portfolio using account-to-account sharing or AWS organizations, you allow an AWS Service Catalog administrator of another AWS account to import your portfolio into his or her account and distribute the products to end users in that account. Question 19. A SysOps administrator is tasked with deploying a company's infrastructure as code. The SysOps administrator wants to write a single template that can be reused for multiple environments. How should the SysOps administrator use AWS CloudFormation to create a solution? Our options are: A. Use Amazon EC2 user data in a CloudFormation template. B. Use nested stacks to provision resources. C. Use parameters in a CloudFormation template. Or D. Use stack policies to provision resources. The correct option is C. Use parameters in a CloudFormation template. Reuse templates to replicate stacks in multiple environments. After you have your stacks and resources set up, you can reuse your templates to replicate your infrastructure in multiple environments. For example, you can create environments for development, testing, and production so that you can test changes before implementing them into production. To make templates reusable, use the parameters, mappings, and condition sections so that you can customize your stacks when you create them. For example, your development environments, you can specify a lower cost instance type compared to your production environment, but all other configurations and settings remain the same. Question 20. A SysOps administrator is responsible for a large fleet of Amazon EC2 instances and must know whether any instance will be affected by upcoming hardware maintenance. Which option would provide this information with the least administrative overhead? Our options are: A. Deploy a third-party monitoring solution to provide real-time EC2 instance monitoring. B. List any instances with failed system status checks using the AWS Management Console. C. Monitor AWS CloudTrail for stop instances API calls. Or D. Review the AWS Personal Health Dashboard. The correct option is D. Review the AWS Personal Health Dashboard. If a hardware malfunction occurs, then Amazon EC2 tags the specific hardware as faulty. Any instance that are running on the hypervisor of the faulty hardware are moved to healthy hardware. During the transition to new hardware, the Amazon EBS backed instances are stopped and instance store backed instances are terminated. Amazon EC2 sends a notification through email and to your personal health dashboard informing you of the hardware degradation and of the upcoming instance stop or termination. Question 21. A SysOps administrator is attempting to deploy resources by using an AWS CloudFormation template. An Amazon EC2 instance that is defined in the template fails to launch and produces an insufficient instance capacity error. Which actions should the SysOps administrator take to resolve this error? Choose two. Our options are: A. Create a separate AWS CloudFormation template for the EC2 instance. B. Modify the AWS CloudFormation template to not specify an availability zone for the EC2 instance. C. Modify the AWS CloudFormation template to use a different EC2 instance type. D. Use a different Amazon machine image for the EC2 instance. Or E. Use the AWS CLI's validate template command before creating a stack from the template. The correct options are B and C, that is, modify the AWS CloudFormation template to not specify an availability zone for the EC2 instance, and modify the AWS CloudFormation template to use a different EC2 instance type. If you're launching an instance, submit a new request without specifying an availability zone. If you are launching an instance, submit a new request using a different instance type. Question 22. A data analytics application is running on an Amazon EC2 instance. A SysOps administrator must add custom dimensions to the metrics collected by the Amazon CloudWatch agent. How can the SysOps administrator meet this requirement? The correct option is D. Create an append underscore dimensions field in the Amazon CloudWatch agent configuration file to collect the metrics. In custom metrics, the dimensions parameter is common. A dimension further clarifies what the metric is and what data it stores. You can have up to 30 dimensions assigned to one metric, and each dimension is defined by a name and value pair. Question 23. A company stores its data in an Amazon S3 bucket. The company is required to classify the data and find any sensitive personal information in its S3 files. Which solution will meet these requirements? Our options are A. Create an AWS config rule to discover sensitive personal information in the S3 files and mark them as non-compliant. B. Create an S3 event-driven artificial intelligence / machine learning pipeline sensitive personal information by using Amazon Rekognition. C. Enable Amazon Guard Duty. Configure S3 protection to monitor all data inside Amazon S3. Or D. Enable Amazon Macie. Create a discovery job that uses the managed data identifier. The correct option is D. Enable Amazon Macie. Create a discovery job that uses the managed data identifier. To discover sensitive data with Amazon Macie, you create and run sensitive data discovery jobs. A sensitive data discovery job analyzes objects in Amazon Simple Storage Service buckets to determine whether the objects contain sensitive data, and it provides detailed reports of the sensitive data that it finds and the analysis that it performs. By creating and running jobs, you can automate discovery, logging, and reporting of sensitive data in S3 buckets. Question 24. A new application runs on Amazon EC2 instances and accesses data in an Amazon RDS database instance. When fully deployed in production, the application fails. The database can be queried from a console on a Bastion host. When looking at the web server logs, the following error is repeated multiple times. Which of the following may be causes of the connectivity problems? Choose two. Our options are A. The security group for the database does not have the appropriate egress rule from the database to the web server. B. The certificate used by the web server is not trusted by the RDS instance. C. The security group for the database does not have the appropriate ingress rule from the web server to the database. D. The port used by the application developer does not match the port specified in the RDS configuration. Or E. The database is still being created and is not available for connectivity. The correct options among these are C and D. Database can be queried from Bastion, so E is out. Security groups are stateful, so you don't have to bother with the egress rules in this situation as long as you have the proper ingress rule. Question 25. A compliance team requires all administrator passwords for Amazon RDS DB instances to be changed at least annually. Which solution meets this requirement in the most operationally efficient manner? The correct option is A. Store the database credentials in AWS Secrets Manager. Configure automatic rotation for the secret every 365 days. To implement password rotation lifecycles, use AWS Secrets Manager. You can rotate, manage, and retrieve database credentials, API keys, and other secrets throughout their lifecycle using Secrets Manager. Question 26. An organization created an Amazon Elastic File System volume with a file system ID of FS-85BA41FC, and it is actively used by 10 Amazon EC2 hosts. The organization has become concerned that the file system is not encrypted. How can this be resolved? Our options are A. Enable encryption on each host's connection to the Amazon EFS volume. Each connection must be recreated for encryption to take effect. B. Enable encryption on the existing EFS volume by using the AWS command line interface. C. Enable encryption on each host's local drive. Restart each host to encrypt the drive. Or D. Enable encryption on a newly created volume and copy all data from the original volume. Reconnect each host to the new volume. The correct option among these is D. Amazon EFS supports two forms of encryption for file systems: encryption of data in transit and encryption at rest. You can enable encryption of data at rest when creating an Amazon EFS file system. You can enable encryption of data in transit when you mount the file system. Question 27. A company runs a retail website on multiple Amazon EC2 instances behind an application load balancer. The company must secure traffic to the website over an HTTPS connection. Which combination of actions should a SysOps administrator take to meet these requirements? Choose two. Our options are A. Attach the certificate to each EC2 instance. B. Attach the certificate to the ALB. C. Create a private certificate in AWS Certificate Manager. D. Create a public certificate in AWS Certificate Manager. Or E. Export the certificate and attach it to the website. The correct options are B and D, that is, attach the certificate to the ALB and create a public certificate in AWS Certificate Manager. Question 28. A SysOps administrator must manage the security of an AWS account. Recently, an IAM user access key was mistakenly uploaded to a public code repository. The SysOps administrator must identify anything that was changed by using this access key. How should the SysOps administrator meet these requirements? The correct option is C. Search AWS CloudTrail event history for all events initiated with the compromised access key within the suspected time frame. You can troubleshoot operational and security incidents over the past 90 days in the CloudTrail console by viewing event history. Question 29. A company uses an AWS Service Catalog portfolio to create and manage resources. A SysOps administrator must create a replica of the company's existing AWS infrastructure in a new AWS account. What is the most operationally efficient way to meet this requirement? Our options are A. Create an AWS CloudFormation template to use the AWS Service Catalog portfolio in the new AWS account. B. In the new AWS account, manually create an AWS Service Catalog portfolio that duplicates the original portfolio. C. Run an AWS Lambda function to create a new AWS Service Catalog portfolio based on the output of the describe portfolio API operation. Or D. Share the AWS Service Catalog portfolio with the new AWS account. Import the portfolio into the new AWS account. The correct option is D. Share the AWS Service Catalog portfolio with the new AWS account. Import the portfolio into the new AWS account. Question 30. A SysOps administrator is responsible for managing a fleet of Amazon EC2 instances. These EC2 instances upload build artifacts to a third-party service. The third-party service recently implemented a strict IP allow list that requires all build uploads to come from a single IP address. What change should the systems administrator make to the existing build fleet to comply with this new requirement? Our options are A. Move all of the EC2 instances behind a NAT gateway and provide the gateway IP address to the service. B. Move all of the EC2 instances behind an internet gateway and provide the gateway IP address to the service. C. Move all of the EC2 instances into a single availability zone and provide the availability zone IP address to the service. Or D. Move all of the EC2 instances to a paired VPC and provide the VPC IP address to the service. The correct option is A. Move all of the EC2 instances behind a NAT gateway and provide the gateway IP address to the service. Question 31. A SysOps administrator is investigating why a user has been unable to use RDP to connect over the internet from their home computer to a Bastion server running on an Amazon EC2 Windows instance. Which of the following are possible causes of this issue? Choose two. Our options are A. A network ACL associated with the Bastion's subnet is blocking the network traffic. B. The instance does not have a private IP address. C. The route table associated with the Bastion's subnet does not have a route to the internet gateway. D. The security group for this instance does not have an inbound rule on port 22. Or E. The security group for this instance does not have an outbound rule on port 3389. The correct options are A and C, that is, a network ACL associated with the Bastion's subnet is blocking the network traffic, and the route table associated with the Bastion subnet does not have a route to the internet gateway. Question 32. A company hosts its websites on Amazon EC2 instances behind an application load balancer. The company manages its DNS with Amazon Route 53 and wants to point its domain's zone epics to the website. Which type of record should be used to meet these requirements? Our options are A. An Quadra A record for the domain's zone epics. B. An A record for the domain's zone epics. C. A CNAME record for the domain's zone epics. Or D. An alias record for the domain's zone epics. The correct option is D. An alias record for the domain's zone epics. D is correct. Route 53 supports redirection of zone epics to the ALB via alias. Question 33. A company must ensure that any objects uploaded to an S3 bucket are encrypted. Which of the following actions will meet this requirement? Choose two. Our options are A. Implement AWS Shield to protect against unencrypted objects stored in S3 buckets. B. Implement Object Access Control List to deny unencrypted objects from being uploaded to the S3 bucket. C. implement Amazon S3 default encryption to make sure that any object being uploaded is encrypted before it is stored. D. Implement Amazon Inspector to inspect objects uploaded to the S3 bucket to make sure that they are encrypted. Or E. Implement S3 bucket policies to deny unencrypted objects from being uploaded to the buckets. The correct options are C and E, that is, implement Amazon S3 default encryption to make sure that any object being uploaded is encrypted before it is stored, and implement S3 bucket policies to deny unencrypted objects from being uploaded to the buckets. Question 34. A company hosts its website in the US East 1 region. The company is preparing to deploy its website into the EU-Central 1 region. Website visitors who are located in Europe should access the website that is hosted in EU-Central 1. All other visitors access the website that is hosted in US-East 1. The company uses Amazon Route 53 to manage the website's DNS records. Which routing policies should a SysOps administrator apply to the Route 53 record set to meet these requirements? Our options are A. Geolocation routing policy, B. Geoproximity routing policy, C. Latency routing policy, or D. Multi-value answer routing policy. The correct answer is A. Geolocation routing policy. The answer is A, when you want to route traffic based on the location of your users. Question 35. A SysOps administrator configured AWS backup to capture snapshots from a single Amazon EC2 instance that has one Amazon Elastic Block Store volume attached. On the first snapshot, the EBS volume has 10 GB of data. On the second snapshot, the EBS volume still contains 10 GB of data, but 4 GB have changed. On the third snapshot, 2 GB of data have been added to the volume for a total of 12 GB. How much total storage is required to store these snapshots? Our options are A. 12 GB, B. 16 GB, C. 26 GB, or D. 32 GB. The correct option is B. 16 GB. Question 36. A company hosts a static website on Amazon S3. The website is served by an Amazon CloudFront distribution with a default TTL of 86,400 seconds. The company recently uploaded an updated version of the website to Amazon S3. However, users still see the old content when they refresh the site. A SysOps administrator must make the new version of the website visible to users as soon as possible. Which solution meets these requirements? Our options are A. Adjust the TTL value for the DNS CNAME record that is pointing to the CloudFront distribution. B. Create an invalidation on the CloudFront distribution for the old S3 objects. C. Create a new CloudFront distribution, update the DNS records to point to the new CloudFront distribution. Or D. Update the DNS record for the website to point to the S3 bucket. The correct option is B. Create an invalidation on the CloudFront distribution for the old S3 objects. Invalidations can be created for the entire bucket, content, or specific paths. Question 37. A SysOps administrator is investigating issues on an Amazon RDS for MariaDB DB instance. The SysOps administrator wants to display the database load categorized by detailed wait events. How can the SysOps administrator accomplish this goal? Our options are A. Create an Amazon CloudWatch dashboard, B. Enable Amazon RDS performance insights, C. Enable and configure enhanced monitoring, or D. Review the database logs in Amazon CloudWatch logs. The correct option is B. Enable Amazon RDS performance insights. Question 38. A SysOps administrator wants to protect jobs in an Amazon S3 bucket from accidental overwrite and deletion. Non-current objects must be kept for 90 days and then must be permanently deleted. Objects must reside within the same AWS region as the original S3 bucket. Which solution meets these requirements? The correct option is D. Enable S3 versioning on the S3 bucket. Create an S3 lifecycle policy for the bucket to expire non-current objects after 90 days. Question 39. A SysOps administrator developed a Python script that uses AWS SDK to conduct several maintenance tasks. The script needs to run automatically every night. What is the most operationally efficient solution that meets this requirement? The correct option is A. Convert the Python script to an AWS Lambda function. Use an Amazon Event Bridge rule to invoke the function every night. Here, a Lambda function will be the most efficient solution. Question 40. A company has an internal web application that runs on Amazon EC2 instances behind an application load balancer. The instances run in an Amazon EC2 auto-scaling group in a single availability zone. A SysOps administrator must make the application highly available. Which action should the SysOps administrator take to meet this requirement? Our options are A. Increase the maximum number of instances in the auto-scaling group to meet the capacity that is stored at peak usage. B. Increase the minimum number of instances in the auto-scaling group to meet the capacity that is required at peak usage. C. Update the auto-scaling group to launch new instances in a second availability zone in the same AWS region. Or D. Update the auto-scaling group to launch new instances in an availability zone in a second AWS region. The correct option is C. Update the auto-scaling group to launch new instances in a second availability zone in the same AWS region. A and B doesn't make it highly available if a zone goes down. D is false as ASG is region bound.